Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Courtside with Christy and Gabe right here on the Her Hoop Stats Podcast Network. I am Christy Winter Scott, joined as always by my guy. Gabe Ibrahim was doing Euro stuff. Gabe, hey buddy. How are you? I missed you last week, bud.
Yeah. Oh, we tried to talk.
We tried.
We got on the phone. We couldn't figure out the mic. It was a whole situation. So I appreciate you guys hanging with us. And this is the end of the high school season and the midst of Christy's Do Everything campaign to literally cover basketball at any place in the world. And so we've been super busy. So we appreciate you guys being patient with us and being ready to talk all things hoops. I'm so excited.
All things hoops. But first things first, unfortunately, we've had another violent situation in our country at Michigan State University, East Lansing, Michigan. I've been there several times, and it's such a cute community, a tightly knit college campus and off-campus community. And I cannot fathom that situation happening anywhere. Mm-hmm. But when you've been places and you've been around the people there, and I really feel for that community and what they had to suffer through last night at 8 p.m. Some randomness of violence with a gun killed 3 people, and I'm just sick and tired of it, Gabe. I have college kids. I have youngsters. Mm-hmm. I know people who have kids at Michigan State, and it's just so scary, just going about your business. And then just this, I don't know. It's just horrific that it continues to happen. And just sending our prayers and thoughts to, and I hate saying that because I'm tired of saying that, but just honestly sending prayers to the parents of all those kids there, all the teachers, all the coaches, all the players, for every sport and every team. You're supposed to be there to be protective of them. As a parent, you trust that they're protected in a safe environment. And this is not saying that, security didn't do their job, because they did.
They did.
But it's so random. And that's why it's scary. Because everyone is doing their best to keep everyone safe. That, you've entrusted your kids, to be in an environment where they feel safe and all of that. And just, I don't know. It feels like a broken record, and it drives me nuts because it keeps happening, and there has to be some kind of reform. There has to be some kind of way that we don't continue to say thoughts and prayers every other day, man. But this stuff, it makes me sick, to be honest.
It's just, it's getting to the point where, everyone's been affected by a mass shooting. I was at the Fort Lauderdale airport when there was a mass shooting there, running for my life. And then I've had that experience. I know the terror that these kids go through. I know there's a lot of trauma involved with that. And you just sit there and now it's like you think about you in that situation, not asking for someone to help change the law, because that's not going to happen. You have to think about yourself in that situation, try and figure out a way to survive. And someone pointed out that there's some kids at Michigan State who they had a camera out there, and one of the kids had a shirt that said Oxford Strong, and that's from a high school nearby. That there was a shooting there.
Yeah.
4 people died there. That kid went through that there, and then he had to go through it again in college.
Oh, I just got.
It's just what are we putting our everyone through? Forget just the kids. All of us.
It's all of us.
It's all of us, and it's terrifying. And I wish I could sit here and say something's going to be done, but I just don't believe it. Yeah, everyone's doing their job except for the people that we need to be doing their job. And I think like you said, it is kudos to the Michigan State Police Department for responding as fast as they did, because that could have been a lot worse. That could have been a lot worse. And for them to have, the overwhelming force and the communication to help the community at least mitigate it, I thought was commendable. But yeah, I don't know. I don't really know how to comfort people at this point. It's just you have to be ready, and I'm just really sorry for those kids to go through it, and I hope they're going to be okay. And we're going to send our, because we all have people we could think of that have been in situations like this. So it's a tough thing to deal with, tough thing to think about, tough thing to move on from, right? Like I'm sitting there, right. Like last night we're trying to watch basketball.
Right.
I couldn't. At some point it just became like, I can't watch basketball. Like I have to watch the news. I have to look at Twitter. Like I don't know what happened in a lot of the games last night. I'm sorry, but I was terrified. I was terrified for those kids, knowing the terror that they were in. So just I don't know. I hope all the kids out there are feeling okay. All the parents are trying to feel as okay as possible.
Yeah, no question. I did not know that you were in the airport running for your life, Gabe. So I'm sorry that you had to go through that personally. Mm-hmm. I can't even fathom. I never want to know that. I don't want my kids, anybody I don't like. I don't want anyone to have to feel that kind of terror. And the randomness of that, it's just, I don't know. It just, again, it just makes me sick to my stomach to think that someone would have no regard for others.
They have no regard for others, and they have a gun.
And they have a gun. I just, that's my stomach, the pit of my stomach. It just,
it's a knot. I
hate it. I hate it.
We're sending all our love to the Spartan, the Spartan community, and I'm hoping they're okay. I'm praying for them, and like you said, absolutely. That's not enough, but that's what we got.
What we got, and lots of love going their way. And again, with all the coaches, but in particular, Susie Merchant for the women's basketball program at Tom Izzo for men's basketball program. I know, that they had to probably on a dime, like, make sure that everyone's okay. Like, so and all the, football, all the other sports too, but just having, interactions and knowing how much, they all coaches care for their kids, but can you imagine that? Like, I mean, you're a coach, like, can you imagine like having to double down, make sure everybody's okay? Like,
no, I run through the scenarios of like, what do I need to do? Like how I can, if I go there and it's on me to figure out the situation, I go through the scenarios now because I have to. And like, and another thing that's crazy. So our school was redone last year, and I look around, and I'm like, this school was redone specifically to avoid a mass shooting. Like the way they laid out the school, and I don't know if that's true or not. I would have to ask. But you look around, and it's just like a lot of open space on the first floor. All the classrooms really high upstairs. Doors lock easily. Doors lock automatically. It's like they set the school up to avoid that, and that is a freaking shame. That is a freaking shame in this country with everything we have, that we have to do that. It's just wrong. But I don't know. You want to talk about basketball?
We can.
We have to, I guess.
Hard.
It's tough.
Hard left turn. There's a hard left turn. We'll get right into it. But I mean, we couldn't go into basketball without, letting our feelings be known on that situation. So yeah, I mean, there has been lots of love. Especially on this Valentine's Day, right?
Oh, it is Valentine's Day.
It is. So I mean, with that, Valentine's Day today. So happy Valentine's Day, everybody. But with what's going on with basketball right now, I mean, the topsy-turviness of the top 25 has been insane. This week was a little more, calm in that way. Not as many upsets as last week. That was a little insane. A lot of the top 15 teams lost to teams that were under them or not ranked, but beat teams ahead of them. So that was an hour-long formula to try to figure out as an AP voter, which is fun. But you have to be fair. You got to be fair and look at all the scenarios. And that was a tough week last week on the women's side. I think the men's side had it this week. With all of the, what I mean, with all the topsy-turviness. But that's where we are right now, in the thick of it, mid-February, with the tournaments beginning in about 3 weeks. Everyone is jockeying for seeding. Don't let people tell you that they're not. They are. Got to win your home games. Got to eke some out on the road. But I just think, I don't know. Let's start with the South Carolina LSU game.
Start at the top.
Yeah, start at the top, right? Dawn Staley, first of all, just beyond a class act when it comes to being a dream merchant, as she calls herself, for these young women. Now, for her comments after the game, I'm just going to fast forward and then we'll dissect the game. But her comments after the game, look at this environment. We have 18,000 people here to watch this game. And this is what we do. This is what we are built to do. This is our mentality, is to come out and be our true selves. And for her to say that, like, can you imagine playing for her? Can you imagine like being able to be your true self and to be at your best, knowing that you look to the right and to the left and everybody else feels that same way? That's momentum. And that's emotional. Like, it's not even a play call. Like, that's how these kids are wired and how they are being ushered through their college journey, their collegiate journey, by Dawn Staley telling them that and feeding them that way mentally first. I don't care. Like, you have to be set there first before you can run anything tactically on the floor. So her comments after, when you are genuine to yourselves, this is what happens. 18,000 people come and watch the joy that you play the game with. So I'm just like, are we realizing actually what she's doing here? And not just basketball wise, are we seeing how she is just having a masterful way with these young women and empowering them in such a way that they can feel free to be themselves and to applaud that in their teammates? Come on. And for me, I will always see basketball, especially women's basketball, in that way, as a moment to empower our young women to be leaders of themselves first, because that's where it starts. You can't lead anybody else if you don't lead yourself first. So for Dawn Staley to be that example, man, hats off to Dawn. And she knows I love her. Hey, Dawn. But I just, she just gets it. She just gets the inner workings of what it takes to be a winner. Like, she gets that, and she's preaching that and feeding that to her kids, man. And I love it. Like, I just think that, you can't beat that way of leadership.
Well, and it's so basketball, I think we both feel this way, is less about X's and O's and more about hearts and minds, right? If your mind's right and you have love in your heart for your teammates and you trust them, it probably won't matter what you run. It probably won't matter what you run. I mean, and then it comes down to how much the other team trusts and loves their teammates and what their minds are like. And I think for South Carolina, obviously they're never going to get out talented. So what they do is really control their hearts and their minds. And I think, obviously this was a huge statement for women's basketball, and Dawn has done this time and time again. Yeah. Right. I thought just a little thing that I love was like her showing up in the Randall Cunningham jersey to play awesome. For the game. Yeah. For the game on ESPN, biggest game that she's going to have this season. Well, it's hard to say. South Carolina's so many big games.
So far,
but,
yeah.
Like
a pretty big game.
Probably the biggest game they're going to have. Yeah. And for her to say, hey, I'm not going to show up in the thing that most coaches show up in. Like, I'm not going to conform to what people expect from me. I'm going to show up in what I want to be and be true to myself. I'm a Philly. She's a Philly girl, and it's like, I'm showing up to support my city. Right. In the way that I want to. I'm not going to wear a green suit. I'm going to wear my jersey because it looks dope. And it looks tough. I don't know what the kids say now.
Drippy.
Oh, drippy. Yes, drippy. She had drip. And so I think that's just like, it's just a little thing that shows the attitude of that team. And then that all comes out on the court. I mean, you see when they're, another thing I love, and if we could stick on the end of the game, I do want to get into the minutia of what happened, but the way the team is like going crazy for the bench players when they get in, or the young players when they get in at the end of the game. Yeah. They're, they get off the floor. They don't sit down. The starters, Zaya Cook, Aaliyah Boston, Victoria Saxon, all the players, They don't sit down. They go to
No.
the bench, they stand up, and they're cheering on their teammates. And because their teammates are cheering on them when they're in the game. And I think that's just a sign of not just a good basketball team, just like a good community. And that's what we're trying to build in basketball is community.
Yeah.
And so I thought it's just such a sign of how far South Carolina has come from when Dawn took them over to now. And just like how far they're going to keep going, because this thing's going to keep holding on. I don't know if y'all saw Raven Johnson. Yeah. She's real good.
She's pretty good.
She's real good. And so I think they're going to keep rolling. But as far as what happened on the court, what do you think was like the biggest reason why South Carolina won this game?
Wow. I mean, I have a litany of things. Where do I begin? Okay, number one, I'm just going to, I'm empowered by Dawn Staley to be my true self in this moment. So I'm telling the truth. Okay. For me, I believe that LSU just didn't command the inner workings. And when I say that, I'm talking about in the paint, on the glass. And I know the numbers may not show this as much as I felt it impacted the game, but I just thought that the glass work by South Carolina and their domination of the interior play was the difference in the game. Now it was rebounding, but it was also defense in the paint, where Aaliyah Boston got some big blocks down in there and denied a lot of access to the rim. Cardozo with a double off the bench. She had a double, right?
I believe, she had a double. Definitely. She was on one too. She was posting up, man. Like 18 and 13.
Yeah, that's what. Double
up there
off the bench. Okay, so LSU did not have an answer for 6'6", 6'5", 6'3" wings. They were huge across the board. Okay, so I just felt that they were just so suffocating with how they defended LSU. And obviously rebounding is part of defense. But I just thought, there was a statement made in that game that, we're here, we're still here. If you're South Carolina, we're still here. And LSU, they're going to play again and maybe they'll make adjustments or whatever. But that game was like from, tip to buzzer, all South Carolina. LSU had a couple of spurts there, but there was never any question that South Carolina was going to win that game. I mean, there were ebbs and flows, but no, it was completely about the paint play, offensively and defensively, where they just dominated LSU.
Well, I led you a little bit astray with what we were talking before. So the offensive rebounding margin in this game, you look at it, it's 14-9. So that's not terrible. If you're only giving up a +5 on the offensive rebound. But here's the thing. Gabe forgot that you have to talk about percentages, right? So South Carolina had 14 offensive rebounds on 26 misses.
There you go.
So that 46% offensive rebound rate. And this is the best offensive rebounding team in the history of, in the history of the Her Hoop Stats era, where we have stats, in women's college basketball history. They're at 50% last time I checked. I don't think this game brought them down that much. I'm gonna check. No. They're 49.9. Okay, then you have a big game, because they would be the first team ever to be above 50% in the Her Hoop Stats era.
I love it.
And so when you have that, it's just so difficult to pick a defense, right? Because I think when you look at South Carolina, you say, well, they're not the best shooting team. They don't want to operate from the outside. They want to operate inside out, not outside in.
Right.
And so if you zone them, you put them in a worse position to do that. Yeah. However, as we know, Christy, you cannot rebound out of a zone, especially not against Aaliyah Boston and Camila Cardoso. Yeah, you can't do it.
Big and strong.
So LSU decided, hey, we got to man them. And that's not a bad idea until you look at it and you say, well, now maybe Angel Reese on Aaliyah Boston. Aaliyah Boston's going to win that one. I'm going to tell you that right now. That's not hard. You want to put out whoever you want on Camila Cardoso. Guess what? She's going to pull down 13 rebounds. So you just don't have much of a choice on the glass other than straight up manning them. I think, you look at what Stanford did. Stanford did so many different things in their game to even keep it close. And they Stanford should have won that game. But Stanford had to do so many things just to keep that offensive rebounding margin close. And it's just really tough. And they have Cameron Brink. Like, with all due respect to Angel Reese, like, that's just it's not the same. It's not the same when you have, players who have won national championships versus LSU. I think, my biggest point with LSU is, like, they're just not quite there. I think Alexis Morris, big game. She got in the second quarter, she started doing those little horns actions, the end and downhill. Okay, hey, we got Bree Beal on you. Bree Beal may be the best perimeter defender in the country. There's also an argument that she's the third best perimeter defender on her own freaking team. So then they put Kiara Fletcher on her. Kiara Fletcher's just a little bit better about getting around screens. Guess what? Alexis Morris taken off the board. it was like, okay, and she made some tough shots. Yeah, but it's like, and then you look at Angel Reese. She ain't gonna have a good day against Aaliyah Boston.
No. She struggled. I mean, Aaliyah Boston's block on Angel Reese was pretty magnificent. And, and again, no shade. I mean, you saw what happened. Y'all watched the game. So, I'm not making this up. You saw it happen. That is what it is. But I know, like, you were talking about Cameron Brink, and how different she is than a player like Angel Reese. I mean, Brink can stretch the floor and knock in threes. I think Angel Reese has only attempted 4 threes.
Which is
this
good.
year. So, I mean, she's totally right. Right. But she's totally inside for now. I mean, who knows? She'll change and stretch the floor out. But I think for Cameron Brink and her ability to stretch the floor out, I think that creates a different dynamic for South Carolina when they're matched up with Stanford, obviously, because of her ability to face and make shots from there, not just face and take shots from there. Mm-hmm. So that's a big difference maker. But I think, that game was won in the mud. That game was won in the paint. That game was won with the interior defense of Boston and Cardozo. That game was won with dominating defense and not allowing LSU to get downhill and finish. It was super physical. I mean, and when I say physical, it doesn't mean fouls. Super physical means you better be ready to get hit when you get in there and put your big girl pants on and go in there and battle, and no excuses to be made. Get the job done, or be quiet. That's all I'm going to say.
They love the Gamecocks love contact. I love that. I love that in a basketball team. I mean, you gotta play rough. You gotta play hard, and you gotta love to hit people. I mean, I know this ain't football, but I always tell I tell our players, gotta hit somebody. You see someone on glass, hit them. If they're going for a board, that's your board. Hit them. And South Carolina takes that all the way. I think the note I had when we were going to do this podcast before the game, one of the questions I had is, can LSU beat South Carolina at their own game? And the answer is an emphatic no. The answer is it's a no. And that's just because LSU doesn't take a lot of threes. In this game, they were 1 for 5. Throughout the season, they're like 304th in threes attempted. You can't beat, and they're a really good offensive rebounding team. They're really good at posting up. Who's going to stop all of that? South Carolina. So LSU, I think, is probably. So before this game, I was probably saying LSU is overrated. I think coming out of this game, LSU might be a little bit underrated because teams are grading them on playing South Carolina. They're not going to beat South Carolina. They are not going to beat South Carolina. But they're going to be a lot of other teams that they can match up with. And so I think LSU, I mean, to me, like, Kim Mulkey said after the game, it's South Carolina and everyone else. And we're part of that everyone else. We wish we got closer.
She said it.
We're not there yet. And that's from her. Yeah. So I just think it's not a bad thing for LSU. It is a bad thing. You lost, right?
I mean, you feel bad.
You don't hang your head about it. You get over it.
You're going to get better. You'll get better because of it. That's what happens. Like, you're going to improve and learn. I mean, you learn when you win as well. So don't get that twisted. But I don't know. I think you're more, dialed in and locked in after you lose, because you don't like the feeling of losing. But you always, I mean, if you're any kind of lover of basketball or competitor, you're going to look at wins and losses as opportunities to learn and get better. But it stings more, obviously, when you lose and you're kind of more, honed into like, wow, what are all the things that we could have done better? And there's a list that LSU could have done.
And when you lose and you get humbled, too.
Yeah.
The LSU got humbled. LSU
Say
got
that
humbled.
part. Say it again. What happened? Say it again, Gabe, for the people in the back.
LSU got humbled. They're out there, Angel Reese licking the W, eating the W like Jameis Winston, and then she coming out. You know where that game changed? Here's where this game changed. LSU was getting close. It was like a 5-point game, maybe a 7-point game, and LSU kept knocking on the door of getting that, into a 1-possession game. And then I think Angel Reese had an and one over Victoria Saxon, just a layup over Victoria Saxon.
Oh, yeah.
She blew her up. She got from the pinch post and she got to the lane. She blew her up. Clean play, got the bucket.
Yeah.
She hit her with, I'm going to stand up. She hit her with that.
Up, Gabe. Show the people.
The too small. She hit her with that too small.
Baby in the house.
Well, Don Staley saw that and said, "Oh, you think your defender's too small? You think Victoria Saxon's too small? Okay, Victoria, come take a breather. Hey, Aaliyah, get on Angel Reese." And there's this moment right before the next play where you see Angel turn around and it's Aaliyah Boston, and you just see Angel's face go blank. She knows what's coming. She knows what's coming. Next play, she tries to do the same pinch post drive. Aaliyah Boston just stands there.
Yeah.
Takes the contact and gets a stop. Next play down is that block you're talking about.
Yeah,
she just
blocked, man.
She put that ball to the core of the earth. She sent that ball to China through the bottom of the floor. And hey,
sorry, but yeah, that was a tough block, baby.
If you're gonna say someone's too small, just be careful, especially when the team has someone bigger.
That's right.
Don't give Don Staley advice. She doesn't need advice. Don't tell Don Staley that her defender's too small.
Right.
Just play.
Hey,
and so I think that's exactly where the game changed. And then putting Boston on Reese was just like, hey, go for it. Do whatever you want. Yeah. And I think South Carolina, it's just what South Carolina does. And there's a ton of mutual respect there. And you saw Angel Reese and Aaliyah Boston hugging after the game. You saw, actually, I really loved Aaliyah Boston, picking, like, she blocked Alexis Morris near the end of the game. She picked her up and said, hey, gave her a pat on the back, and Alexis Morris, gave it back. I said, if you ever block me so hard that I fall down, just leave me on the ground, please.
Bye-bye. No,
just leave me.
I'm good. I'll get up. Let me get up on my own.
But, look, we found out that LSU is not the team to beat South Carolina. So my question to you before this podcast was, what team can? What team can do it? I think we talked about Stanford.
Sorry. Sorry, go back. Go back.
She said the Mystics. The Mystics would. They ain't got no one for EDD. But so we've talked about Stanford before, and Stanford clearly got close, and I think Stanford can get there, even though they've been a little up and down in Pac-12. But I think the other team we got to talk about in this context is a team you're extremely familiar with at this point.
Yes.
The Hoosiers of Indiana.
Yeah.
They beat Iowa. They completely demolish Ohio State. Yeah, shouts to Clark and Sonato.
Yeah, the law firm. I'm rapping them. Yeah.
But
some little nieces. Oh, go ahead.
Indiana took it to both those teams. I mean, is this a team that you're ready to say is a competitor on South Carolina's level or close to?
Yeah, close to for sure. And you know why? Because of the way they play defense. Gabe, I'm going to tell you what. They dismantle teams in terms of taking them out of what they want to do. Now, when I say take them out of what they want to do, they're going to blow up their first two options in the quarter court. Okay. And if you get to your third option offensively, that's not really what you right? As a team, you want to, at least get your first two options, one of the two of those. But when you're down to your third, fourth, fifth options, because they've taken so many things away from you, taking the actions where you love to attack, taking that away, that makes it so much more difficult to be in a rhythm. And I think that's what Indiana thrives on. Terry Morin, credit her. She was like, don't come here if you don't want to play defense. Man, listen, that's not a telltale sign on Their culture is there and the expectations.
Mhm.
I mean, they've had, you know, injuries with Grace Berger. I mean, she missed 8 games earlier this year, but they stayed consistent with what they were doing, and it was because of their defense. Okay, Grace Berger was playing, leading the team, assist and everything like that. She missed that chunk of games like after Thanksgiving, and then a stretch of 8 games, which is, you know, that's a big time for chemistry of teams early in the season. You know, trying to gain some ground prior to the conference season beginning, and you know, just to see what they've been able to do in spite of that adversity. And to have Chloe Moore McDaniel, who I believe, and Terry Morton said this too, while Grace Berger was out, that she was the MVP of the team because she slid over a position from the 2 to the 1 and ran that team with precision and execution. And I just thought that that was really important for the team to have the leverage that they needed to get into Big Ten play and to do what they've been doing. I mean, they've been magnificent. They've only lost 1 game, and it was to Michigan State, correct? Or
Yes.
like first part of the Big Ten season, right out of the gates in conference play.
That might have been their first. Yeah, that was their first conference game. Oh no, second conference, third conference game right there.
Yeah, it was
They
early.
played Illinois and Penn State before. Yep.
Yeah. So I mean, they've had 1 loss all year, and the domination that they play with on the defensive end, I think, has to be commended. Now, you asked me about them being matched up with South Carolina. Man, look across the board with what Indiana has. You know, and it's a well-oiled machine when it comes to how they play defense. So I think they don't have a ton of size. That would be obviously, I mean, you're not going to outsize South Carolina. I don't care what team you are.
Right.
Period, point blank, the end on that. Like, you just not. Okay. But what you can do, you can strategize against that size. And I think the way Indiana is structured defensively, again, to take away your first and second actions, force you into your third and fourth, you know, options in the quarter court, you know, and they take care of the ball. So you're not going to get, you know, the runouts that you want because they're not going to give it to you. They stay disciplined. Mackenzie Holmes is playing like the maestro out there. She is like so phenomenal with her footwork, her speed this season. I mean, it was always there, but I think last year she wasn't healthy, especially at the end of the year with the knee situation. But man, she's getting up and down the floor. She's rim running. Defensively, she's dancing. She's doing the post defense 2-step, staying loose. Like, and you know, I know I have on the shirt, but in this game, I had the Indiana-Iowa game last Thursday at Indiana, and it was, you know, it was the Mackenzie Holmes show. Like, in terms of what she was able to do, like in the open floor, in the quarter court, and defensively. Sonano fouled out of that game. I believe she only had 6 points in that game. But it looked like Indiana was really wearing down Iowa in a lot of ways. And Iowa didn't help themselves by missing a lot of free throws in that contest. And you just can't have, that's what I'm saying. Your margin of error against a team like Indiana is so small, man. And I remember Lisa Bluter said to us, you know, because I just had their game the other day at Iowa when they played Rutgers, and she told us that, hey, we just asked them after the game, did you guys play your best in this game? And they said no. And then she said, do you think it's like your third best, your fourth best, fifth best? And they all still said no. So they didn't play up to par, but you have to credit Indiana for disrupting what they wanted to do.
Yeah. When we lose, I also think we didn't play our best basketball. It's like, and so the thing I think that separates Indiana from some of these other teams, you know, Indiana and Stanford, you know, we talked about Cameron Brink for Stanford. Indiana has Mackenzie Holmes, and Mackenzie Holmes, at the very least, you can say we can play man and have someone in the post to bother Leah Boston. You know, defensively, you're not going to find many posts better than Mackenzie Holmes, as you're saying. And then I think, you know, their ability to turn teams over, their defense, and just like, you know, forcing South Carolina into tougher decisions in man defense, or at least man-ish defense. So you could do a couple other things. You can't sit in the zone. If you sit in the zone, you're gonna get boarded to smithereens. So you can't do that. So you have to play some sort of man-ish, like defense. They can do that. they can turn South Carolina over, and they're extremely efficient in transition.
Yes.
So that is a recipe to hang with the Gamecocks. And, as you're saying, I mean, I think Mackenzie Holmes at this point, hey, she's not necessarily a Leo Boston, but she definitely is in the player of the year conversation. I don't see how you could not have her in. It's Clark, it's Boston, and it's Holmes, and maybe Maddie Segrist, who just had 50 points, by the way. Shout to Maddie. Shouts to Maddie.
Yeah. 50-piece nugget. Ooh,
just a buck over there. But I think Mackenzie Holmes makes that team into a contender on the national stage, and I think they're the best team in the. I mean, they're absolutely proving that they are the best team in the Big Ten. And I just really hope they stay healthy, because they definitely can hang with South Carolina, and I think as they continue to get more, they get tested so much more often than South Carolina does, and South Carolina has all that championship pedigree, so they don't necessarily need to be tested. They know they've been tested as a team,
right?
As a group. Indiana continues to hit those tests. Hey, we're playing Iowa. We got to beat Iowa. We're playing Ohio State. We got to beat we got Ohio State. We got Michigan coming up. They beat Maryland. Everyone, they're hitting all the check marks you want to see out of a contender. I think this is a team that is really shaping up to be one of the teams that can win a title. And I'm just super pumped for them. I think this is awesome. And you've been to Assembly Hall. That is like my bucket list place. If anybody wants to take me to Assembly Hall, please take me. I would love to go.
Oh man, it was the hallowed halls. It's like it's like a museum. When you go to a lot of different arenas, and for me, I like to walk around, and see all the pictures. You good?
My
your wife calling it Valentine's Day. Is that a lunch date?
Your boy is a game 2 hours away.
Oh, okay.
Valentine's
I thought
Day.
It was a Valentine's Day thing, honey. Your wife.
Valentine's Day has been postponed.
Welcome to coaching. Anyway.
Welcome to being married too. It's lovely. Oh yeah, we'll just do it next week.
Yeah, next Friday we'll do something. Anyway, but yeah, I love the history of the game, right? Men's and women's basketball. I mean, you're walking around at Assembly Hall, and like Tara Vanderveer's pictures up on the wall from like in the 80s when she was the coach there. Like, it's insane. Like, just to know the history of the grounds that you walk on, I think is really awesome. But when you are in a place like Assembly Hall and all the other schools too, I just love to see the foundation that the game has been grown on. And this is really fun for me as a basketball person, just to kind of absorb all of that history of the moment. And when the jump ball goes, it's like, I don't know, it's packed in there. It's like 13,000. It was a record, right? 13,000 plus. And I think it was like 325,000 people viewed the game on Big Ten Network. So, a lot of records being broken for our game. Excuse me. And we were talking about South Carolina and LSU game having 18,000. I mean, there's a platform for where we are in our game, but to be in those historic arenas, I mean, there's nothing like, the goosebumps that come of that. And at Iowa on Sunday, Debbie Antonelli was there, just like to mess my whole mind up. I was sitting there, going over graphics, and then she popped up in front of the table. I was like, what is happening? So shout out to Debbie Antonelli. It was so good to see her,
I'm pretty sure Debbie's just like going around the Midwest to basketball games, because like Calvin Wetzel saw her at Illinois State. She's been at like a million games right now, and she's an empty nester now, so she's like, I'm watching all of that.
Yeah. Why not?
Somehow Debbie is doing more work.
I know. Yeah. But I love that. I mean, she has 3 boys, and she's empty nester, but she is she's a dream merchant too, right? Just like Don Staley is. But I just think, she's just showing how to do it. Right. Huge mentor for me. So that was like fun, but just, how basketball is all interconnected. It to me it's a beautiful thing. So yeah, Assembly Hall, we got to get you there, Gabe, because it's fun stuff.
I'm dying to go. It's been on my bucket list.
Yeah, it's good.
It's been on my bucket list for a very long time. No, yeah. Look, I think that all of these stadiums, really, everywhere. I want to go to South Carolina.
Yeah.
I want to go everywhere. So, anybody that would like to take me, please let me know.
Yeah,
I'll be in Dallas. I'm booking my flight tomorrow for the Final Four in Dallas.
Oh, nice. Oh, that'll be fun. That'll be
And
interesting.
I'm going to the ACC tournament in Greensboro. I got a special announcement for that actually at some point. I just have to confirm.
Special announcement?
Special announcement. Just not right now.
Oh, okay. I was about to say,
teaser.
breaking news? Like, put it on the banner, put it on the ticker. Okay. No. Okay.
Teaser.
Teasing.
Just a little teaser. Okay. So do you want to talk? I think we got one more. We got time for one more. We've already been talking for 40 minutes. Jesus. Do you want to talk about the top 6? Do you want to? All right. I got a couple options for you. Choose your own adventure. We could talk about UConn. We could talk about the top 16 seeds in women's college basketball, or we could talk about WNBA free agency.
Oh, dang it. I like the top 16.
Sure, let's do it.
I like the
I'm
top
trying to.
Yeah.
I'm trying to find like where they put the team. Like they had a really cool graphic of like, oh, here we go. Yeah, all right, I got it. Okay. So here's what we got for the top 16. So I'm gonna read the top 4 teams. Not surprising. South Carolina, Indiana, Stanford. Already talked about those 3. UConn.
Yeah.
Did you see? Let me know. You may have seen this. Do you know the last time UConn lost 2 straight games like they did against South Carolina and Marquette?
I heard it was 93.
93. You know what else? You know what else was created in 1993? Your boy.
Oh, look at that.
I was not alive the last time UConn lost multiple games. And I currently have a mortgage and a wife and a dog. So.
Great job, Gino. And a dog.
Great job, Gino.
Trifecta. Yeah.
So those are the top 4 seeds. And then I like the idea of talking a little bit about the seeding because right now in the Greenville Region 1, because there's 2, the regionals are going to be in 2 locations instead of 4. We have South Carolina, Duke, Maryland, Ohio State. And that may be like my favorite of these groups because Duke and Maryland, first off, ACC schools, great rivalry. We have to have JJ Redick reading poetry around there, like he did back in the day.
He did.
And then we have Maryland, Ohio State, South Carolina, Maryland. All those teams have excellent histories there, and I think Duke has been playing really good basketball. It just beat my Miami Hurricanes, so that would be an awesome region. I think that's my favorite of any of these.
Okay.
And then there's just some like interesting teams that thought like Michigan is a 3 seed, and that would make. I'm going to count them up. I want to make sure I get this right. 1, 2. So the Big Ten has Indiana, Iowa, it's 2, Maryland, 3, Michigan, 4, Ohio State, 5. 5 of the top 16 teams from the Big Ten.
That's insane. First of all, I mean, night in, night out, you better be ready to compete, or you're going to get your face handed to you. For Michigan, Leah Brown is playing incredible basketball for them, like especially as of late. I mean, you're talking about a UConn team who, has been battle tested with injuries, and oh my gosh, Gino was off the bench for a stretch of games. They just had so much roller coaster esque dealings this season, but somehow they're managing to win. It's just been, I don't know, for the Big Ten, circling back to that, I mean, to have 4 teams in the top 10 for the first time ever has been pretty amazing to see. But night in and night out, you just don't know what's going to happen, right? I mean, everyone's beating up on each other. But that's why that tournament in Minneapolis in March, that's going to be insane. That's going to be like an NCAA tournament. It's like a mini NCAA tournament happening there because of all the ranked teams and how they've beaten up on each other all, conference season. Come on, man. Look, that's what it's all about. It's in preparation for the NCAA tournament, but it's such a tough conference, number one, with fantastic tacticians and coaches. The players are insanely skilled. mentally capable to like just fight you to no end. So that's what the game is supposed to be, right? You're supposed to have a lot of different types of teams, right? And you have to challenge yourself against size, no size, quick, methodical. It's there are all these different factors that you have to be prepared for, and the Big Ten has all of that and more this year. And I'm not advertising or whatever. I'm just saying what it is. I'm just saying what it is. I mean, the only thing with advertising is the law firm thing is. No. Oh, they sent me a shirt. Aren't they sweet? Look. Oh, law firm.
The you're gonna be cold out there in Minnesota, by the way.
Yeah, it'll be cold in March.
We went out there for the Final Four in April, and it was snowing.
Yeah, it's a little chilly there, but
it was cold. But you'll be all right. It's
Prince handled it for a long time. Oh, rest in peace, Prince. But anyway.
And you get the skywalk, and it's inside.
Yeah.
You get to see Cheryl. I'm sure.
Yeah.
Cheryl Weaver will be there.
That's my girl. Yeah, we'll see her there.
And there's plenty of talent there to scout, as it turns out, because all those teams are really, really good.
Better be there watching them.
I'm looking at it. ACC has 1, 2, 3, 4 teams in there: Duke, Notre Dame, UNC, Virginia Tech. I don't think all 4 of them are going to be there by the end, just because of the shuffle and just like how weird the ACC has been.
Yeah,
it's been so up and down. So I don't think those teams are going to be in there. But if I had to pick a conference outside of the Big Ten to have, however you want to rate this, like 8 teams in the Sweet 16, 4 teams in the Elite 8, pick the ACC, because those teams, it's a war every night in the ACC too.
Absolutely.
And you're going playing everyone. I mean, top to bottom, that conference is strong. There's not many easy games. You can lose any of them. And so I think that's a really strong conference. Obviously, I'm really in tune to it. I think they're gonna. I'm interested to see if they get a 1 seed, because I didn't really expect this from Duke. I think Duke has surprised me a little bit. I mean, their defense has been, doggish, and that puts you in the conversation. But I didn't expect them to have the success that they've had, and I'm interested to see if that continues into the ACC tournament, and just see who can get there. And I believe in UNC, I believe Virginia Tech, I believe in Notre Dame, but I would certainly say the Big Ten is just Big Ten's like South Carolina. It's the Big Ten and everyone else.
Yeah, I mean, going back to ACC, I think NC State was great earlier in the season, but as of late, they dropped 2 of their last 3. And I think they're struggling right now with their continuity, if that's the best way to say that. They just feel, to me, it just looks like they are lacking that next gear or 2, right? When they find themselves in a hole in games and then can't seem to work their way out of them. Whereas earlier on in the season, they found a way to work themselves out of them. So I don't know what is actually going on there. And no negative. It's just, you're trying to figure it out. So for NC State, that's another team in the ACC that you can't, forget to talk about, right? Because they're coming, but they just have had like a rough patch over the last couple of weeks.
They'll pull off a an upset somewhere in Greensboro. It's Greensboro. I went to Greensboro last year. I was NC State. Forget North Carolina. Forget Duke. That was NC State crowd. And I think Wes Moore last year, he said, I look really smart with all these great players on my team. We'll see how smart I look. We'll see how smart I look next year. And I think Wes Moore is a great coach. He's a fun guy.
He is. I love him. Yeah.
But it's kind of a rebuilding process. They lost really the pillar of their whole thing in the Lisa Kunane last year, and a bunch of other really good players ran a pros. Kai Crutchfield the year before. It's like they just lost so much that it is going to take a while for them to get back. And I think partially they're playing better teams now, and partially there's a fatigue factor of these players who, their load has shot up from last season, and they're getting used to it. And I think, obviously they're relying on some freshmen too. So I think they'll be okay. I don't think this is a year for them to contend, but if you told me like NC State's in the semifinals of the ACC tournament, I believe you.
Yeah.
I believe you.
True.
And so I think those 2 conferences are going to have the best tournaments. Because although last year, we kind of ignored the SEC, and the SEC turned out to be a showstopper. So
Yeah.
maybe the SEC is back. Maybe the Pac-12 surprises. The Pac-12 is getting better too. But I thought those top 16 seeds. Actually, I could just read them. I'll read them out so we like have them. Or actually, can I just? You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna do it right here.
Share the screen. Look at you.
Yeah. I'm gonna take a little picture.
Gabe. Oh, you're screenshotting.
Oh wait, I can share the screen. Can I do that?
Yeah.
We're doing a live experiment. Oh no, that's not the one. Gabe.
I'm still in it. Oh.
Okay. Hold on. We're gonna
better you than me. Trust me. Trust and believe. You got it. My name is Bennett, and I'm not in it.
Hey, look at that from the Athletic.
Oh, hey, you did it. Look at us. Oh,
yeah. Look at this is fantastic, guys. So we got South Carolina, Duke, Maryland, Ohio State, Indiana, Utah, Notre Dame, Villanova, UConn, LSU, Michigan, Virginia Tech, Stanford, Iowa, Texas, North Carolina. If you are listening to us on the podcast only, we have like the thing laid out on YouTube.
Thanks,
yeah. All right, we figured out how to do that. We may do that more often, but there's your top 16 seeds, and obviously that's going to be a ever-changing process. This season. So it's going to be a wild sprint to the end. There's some games that we want to watch, but you know what? We have to get to the WNBA because we're at 51 minutes.
Oh, 51. Okay. Okay.
Oh, there it is.
Continue.
All right. So I want to talk some WNBA free agency.
Yes.
I want to start with the massive trade that brought Marina Mabrey to the Chicago Sky. This one's a doozy, folks.
It is.
So essentially, for Chicago, they gave up their 2020. They gave up the next 3 years.
3 years.
Did I get that wrong? Oh no. Yeah.
3 first round picks.
Essentially 3 first round picks. So they gave up their number 5 pick in this year's draft.
Mm-hmm.
Their first rounder, full stop, next year in the draft that could have Paige Beckers, Cameron Brink. Everyone is going to be in that draft.
Everybody. Yeah.
And a pick swap between Dallas and Chicago in 2025. And looking at it right now, you kind of say that Dallas would take that swap. So then Chicago would have a first round pick and just be lower than what they would have if they just went on their own way there. And then it's a 4-team trade. There's just so much stuff going on, but we have to talk about it from each team's perspective because now it's going to get too complicated. They also give up like a bunch of second round picks and stuff too. So sure. For Marina Mabrey to be on this team with Kalia Copper, and I gotta say, I really, really, really don't like it for Chicago. Not a statement against Marina Mabrey. She was a restricted free agent, though. They didn't have to do this. They could have just tried. They could have just signed her to a max offer sheet, which is what she got anyway. She got the max, and saw if Dallas would match it. And I'm looking at Dallas's books. And I'm saying, they're not going to match it. They're not going to do that because they have too much. Their books are loaded. They have too much going on in the future for them to say, we're going to match that the max contract from Marina Mabrey.
Right.
So to give up all of that for the right to sign a player that you could have signed without giving up those draft picks, again, in what projects to be one of the best drafts we've seen in recent memory.
Right.
Is very, very, very questionable to me.
That's a big move. I mean, like you said, a restricted free agent. So, I mean, we don't know the inner workings and the business decisions, that are made because of finances and salary cap and all that. And I'm not being speculative. However, we are not privy to all that. So for her to be moved and all of the picks, that to me, I mean, that's a major, major move in that way because of the big draft class, especially for next year. Yeah. I mean, that's rolling the dice in a major way, to say the least, right? I mean,
push all your chips in the middle. That's going all in.
Push them all to the middle. But in terms of schematics, that's going to take some time for both teams, right? To adjust in the
Yeah.
absence of Mabrey and the addition of Mabrey, right? But I think in Chicago, it's going to be interesting, like all the teams this year, with all, with a lot of new faces across the board. I think it's going to be really interesting to see how teams mesh, and not just how they mesh, but how soon, how quick it's going to be for a lot of these teams to get acclimated to one another and get the rhythm and flow with one another, because that's what it really takes, right? And starting on the defensive end, I always say, people talk about chemistry being offensive all the time. No, it's defensive too. Like, you have to make sure that you are in sync with the reads, the philosophy of the coach, how you're going to cover pick and rolls and go screens and all that stuff. You have to be on the same page with that. So that'll be interesting. But on the offensive side, I think there'll be some adjustments too. Mabrey's a dog, man. She's going to come after you, and she's going to be, looking for those three balls. I don't know. I think it's going to be fun to watch and see how that irons out. But I don't dislike it. I am intrigued. So I don't know if that is a good answer, but I am intrigued by the move.
I want to clarify. I love Chicago getting Marina Mabrey.
Okay.
I love it. I love the move. The max contract, honestly, I don't think it's an overpay. I think that's fine.
Okay.
So the contract itself and the move itself, fine. Just the trade of giving up, of going all in for Mabrey on a team that, honestly, at this point, I'm looking at it, I'm still saying they're out of the playoffs on paper. I don't think they're as good as as the top 8 teams in this league, because you look at their starting lineup and it's Mabrey, Copper, Courtney Williams, dog. I'm going to read their top 6 players. I don't know who's going to start.
Okay.
So Mabrey, Copper, Courtney Williams, dog. Isabel Harrison, dog. Elizabeth Williams, dog. Rebecca Gardner, dog.
I love Rebecca Gardner.
It's not like there's not enough talent there to compete at the levels that they would need to compete at to make this move. If you're telling me, hey, we got Candace Parker, we lost Courtney Vandersloot, or we kept Courtney Vandersloot and we lost Candace Parker, but hey, we still feel like we can make a semifinal run at the very least and put ourselves in a position to get to the finals again. Then I would say, hey, maybe it is worth those 3 first-round picks, because next year you're going to make the playoffs and it's not going to be a problem.
Right.
But now I'm like, I'm shaking. Like you're shaking as a Chicago fan, because now it's like, well, this team needs to really outperform what they've done. And Marina Mabrey has to turn into a star, and she's a great player. And I think she's a really, really good player, but she's not there yet. And Kahleah Copper is going to have to be a superstar. And it's not like Kahleah Copper can't get there. She's proven that she can play out that level. Yeah. But can she drive the team as a superstar? And I think the other thing that went into this for Chicago was, they were really, I'm guessing, really scared of losing Kahleah Copper in free agency next year. Her contract's up after this season. Yeah. And so they would like to see her extend, or at least, be in a happy situation. She loves Marina Mabrey. She said that a million times, and she wanted her on the team, and they went and got her, right? And so maybe to keep Kahleah Copper, they needed to do this. I just don't know if that was the right decision. For me, if I was in charge, I would have said, you know what? I'm looking at it. If we can't sign Mabrey, if she doesn't take our offer sheet, we'll look to trade Copper, and we'll hit the reset button. We'll try to get one of those great players coming out of the draft next year, and we'll see what happens.
Right.
And we'll see how the franchise goes. But now they're just, this has to work. This has to work, or they are. It's not just like, this has to work, or they're going to be, screwed for the next 2 years. No, like this could be like this is a franchise altering potential move. Yeah. This could change the entire look of your franchise for a long time. You can ask the Brooklyn Nets, ask all those teams in the NBA trading in those draft picks and going all in for those stars. You guys see what's happening down the pike, because I just think that's a crazy, crazy move for Chicago. Yeah. Great move for Dallas, for a player that they probably weren't going to re-sign anyways, to get those picks, and a franchise-altering move on their side as well, as they bring in those picks and Diamond the Shield. Yeah. And now I like this Dallas team, Christy. I don't know how you feel about it.
No, first of all, I love Diamond the Shield. If she's listening, ooh, hey. But I love that that she's going to be there.
Mm-hmm.
With Enrique Agumbawale, I think they're built the same way mentally. I think they're both, extremists when it comes to competitive fire. And I love to see that, especially for Diamond to saw her in the playoffs last year. Obviously with Phoenix having the year that they did last year with all of the emotion with the Brittany Griner situation.
Did you see BG at the Super Bowl?
I did. I was so
I
happy.
loved it. I was so happy for her.
I was so happy for BG. Oh, hey BG.
Is she an Eagles fan? Or she just, I don't know.
So
She's an Eagles
happy
fan.
for her. Yeah. But I think, like you said, it's a really good move for them. They're continuing to strategize with their roster, but continuing to build too. But they'll be able to add some really nice pieces with those picks. But I just think when you said about Kalia Copper and can she be that superstar and lead the team, I think she's poised to do that right now.
Sure.
I think, she got MVP of the finals when they won, a couple seasons ago. And I think from that, I think the confidence that she's played with, even prior to them winning that year, just the way she's been moving along in her career, and her competitive maturity being on full display, I think she's ready for that challenge. And she doesn't have anyone to fall back on now. And not that she would want that, but there's no Candace Parker who's the one saying, come over here, let me talk to you at a free throw. You're not going to have that kind of leadership. So can she be that for them? I think yes, but she hasn't had to do it because she's always had a Sloot or Quigley or Parker to be able to corral everyone in. So now it's her opportunity to step into that space. So I want to see her do it. I know that she can do it, but she hasn't had to do it, if that makes sense. And Quigley is taking the year off. So she's not even there either. So I just think the opportunity is prime for her to step into that leadership role. The seas have parted, if you will. And this is your time to stretch yourself into being that vocal leader. And you've seen it a little bit, but now, she hasn't, again, had to do it because she's had vets to the left and to the right of her. So now it's her turn. And I'm anxious to see how that looks. And I'm sure she's going to do it masterfully well. I think she's going to be great at that.
Yeah. No, I think she could totally be a leader. I just don't.
Yeah.
I don't think she's
in that way. Vocal.
Yeah.
Can she be the one saying, hey, come over here. I got to tell you something.
No doubt. I think she can lead this team and play really well. I just don't think you look at the other teams in kind of the conversation with them, and it's just the talent level for Chicago is not there. And James Wade's a great coach, and maybe maybe there's some stuff that he can get more out of these players than he can. I'm sorry, he can get more out of these players than what we expect. But it's just tough to look at the other teams with the talent and say, okay, we have to make the playoffs this year first off, and we have to be really good in order to make this trade worth it. To me, it doesn't make as much sense. And I think to flip it back to Dallas, what they're doing is, they've created a team that they really like, I think, right? They brought in Natasha Howard this year, re-signed Sierra McCowan. They have Veronica Burton, who had a nice rookie season and is going to be even better. And then they have Satu Sabali and Diamond the Shields. The dynamic between Enrique and Diamond is going to be a little weird. I think Diamond will shoot better from three, but that's not the fit. That's not going to be how Mabrey and Enrique were. It's going to have to be a little different.
Right. Right.
So that's going to take some time, like you said at the beginning of talking all this. That's going to take a lot of adjustment. But then they have another 3 first-round picks this season. They have picks coming up in the future. This franchise is set up to continue growing. And I always see people asking, what's the plan in Dallas? I think it's a fair question. And I wrote in my my newsletter, ballinorder.substack.com, if y'all want to. I wrote about how it's kind of like, I don't know if you ever played 2K, but in 2K, when I get a new franchise, I immediately trade everyone. I trade all the players for draft picks. I bring in guys that I want. I change up everything, right? Because I want, I'm a wheel. I have to do something in the video game, so I want to do something. I'm a wheeler and dealer. And I think Greg Bibb has kind of had that mentality. It's like, hey, this move is good. I'm gonna do it, and that's great for roster building. But at some point, they need to turn the corner into team building. And I think this has to be the year for them with Latricia Trammell as the head coach, has to
Right.
be the year for them with Enrique as their leader. It has to be, the year that they start going from this, hey, they have a lot of talent, to, okay, this team is ready to compete and win. And I think this year they have enough talent to do so. So I like what Dallas is building personally.
Mm-hmm. No, I like it. Again, just to have the pieces to be able to build, to continually build, and add to, who's around Enrique Gumbawale. I mean, it's her squad right now, and no shade to anybody else, but she's the clutch performer on that team, and she wants those moments. So I love that for her too, to be able to own that role and to have that trust from Greg Bibb and the coaching staff as well, just to know that we're working to get pieces around you. I mean, if I'm Enrique, I'm like, let's go. Like, let's bring them, because how she's built, right? She wants to win. So just to have that trust from everyone in the organization, I think is a plus for her too.
It's her team. And they did lose Alicia Gray. And to a certain extent, that wasn't their choice. I think Alicia, honestly, I don't know if her problem was with the franchise or with the role. I think her problem was with the role, because she's saying, I'm a better player than the touches you're giving me. And
right.
I don't disagree with her. So, and so losing Alicia is a big deal. I'm not trying to, downplay that at all. Losing Alicia is a big deal. Losing Marina is a huge deal.
Yeah.
But I just think they're kind of built. They're built well now, and they have playoff experience. They have players that they can rely on, and they have a good base for playing good defense, and that's been a problem in Dallas. They got their stuff together at the end of last year, but they're going to have to really lock in on that end of the court this year, and I think they can. So shouts to Dallas. I think it's a good move. There's a New York and Phoenix element to this. I don't feel like getting into the minutia of it. There's a lot of stuff going on. It's more minor moves that won't. I do want to talk about one more major move, even though we're going long.
Yeah.
Tiffany Hayes to Connecticut.
I know.
For the number 6 pick from Atlanta. I love that.
I love that.
I love that move.
Yeah. I love that. I mean, Tiffany Hayes, she had some injury issues, but her presence, we were talking about leadership too. Her presence as a leader is, that's what Connecticut needs right now, right? They lost some pieces, obviously, with Jonquel Jones and others. But I just think that's a perfect fit for her in Connecticut, with Stephanie White being the head coach there in her first year with the Sun. I just think that's going to be a great combo with having her there. Yeah.
And Bree Jones resigns actually for a little bit less than the max, which is interesting. But you look at this team. We're talking about Chicago. This team is full of dogs. I mean, Ty Harris, Tip Hayes, DeWanna Bonner, Alyssa Thomas, Brianna Jones. That's your starting 5. You got Natisha Heidemann coming off the bench. Nia Clouden, our girl, coming off the bench. Like, I think they're a little thin, but I'm looking at it, and I want to do power rankings in this episode. We're not gonna have a chance to do it.
Yeah.
I'm like, they're right in there. I'd say with them and Washington are really close to each other in terms of competing with those top 2 teams in New York and Las Vegas.
Yeah.
And I think Tip, it's really hard to lose someone like Jonquel Jones and still stay good.
Yeah.
You look at teams that lose superstars, they don't tend to stay in contention.
Right.
This team did that with this move, and I think they should be really, really excited for what Tip brings to Connecticut. And she's honestly something they need. Like, she can, that outside in sort of player who can spot up a little bit. Like that's exactly what they need. And I think it's going to be really good for them. Obviously, they take a step back though. I'm not trying to say they, Tip Hayes and Jonquel Jones are the same thing. It's just, they stay pretty close to where they were.
Absolutely. And they get, Atlanta gets a number 6 pick out of that. And I think that's good for Atlanta. A super young team that's continuing to grow and get better. I thought they had a phenomenal season last year for the youth that they had on the floor most of the time. So I think a number 6 pick in exchange for Hayes is a good move for them on the other side too.
Oh yeah, for sure. No, I like it. I like that move actually. That's a win-win. That's a win-win. We'll say it. It's a win-win. And I think it's great for Tiffany Hayes. She had, when she was, what year was that? 2018? 2018, they make the semifinals.
Yeah.
She was incredible. She was incredible. And then she had, some injury issues the next couple of years, and the team kind of falls off, and she's like playing on this team that's like in the middle of being young and old. And now, she gets clarity. She's going to play on a really good team. And she's going to be, playing in Connecticut where she went to college with players who have her exact same mentality, aren't on her same timeline. So pump for everyone. This is like, maybe my favorite move of the off season in terms of making everyone happy.
That was a good move. Yeah. It's, like you said it best, it's a win-win. So I'm, anxious to see all of these teams when the season begins in just a couple of short months. We always say it, it's like, oh, it's so far away. But then the next thing you know, it's like, a couple days out, and we're in it. So, man, I can't wait. This is going to be an exciting WNBA season for sure.
Oh yeah. All right, Christy. I gotta go. We gotta go.
Oh, it's a game day for you. Good luck to you guys. It's your last game today, Gabe. Coach Gabe. Oh,
last regular season game, varsity.
Regular season, game. Yeah.
JV though.
Yeah.
Our JV kids were pretty sad after our last practice. It was funny. So hold on, I want to tell players out there, So we asked the kids. Yeah. You guys get to pick our last drill for practice.
Oh.
And we were expecting them to pick one of the drills that we've done. We've done a lot of fun drills with them. We had a lot of fun. And they're like, can we play pickup? I was like, we've done so many fun things with you. You know how many hours of drills I've watched on YouTube for you guys? And you guys just want to play pickup? You can play pickup in 2 weeks without us.
Yeah, that's all I want.
So we played pickup, and I called some rogue fouls on them.
Good. It's the get back.
They kept looking at me too, like, is that a foul? I'm like, no, keep playing. The ref didn't see it. Get going.
Get used to it. Like, no calls.
So I love it. I love our JV team, and I'm understanding all of the times I talk to you and how happy or sad or emotional you were about your team, and it really it's pretty sad. I'm gonna be pretty sad today too. But,
it's an investment.
We gotta get the W first.
Get that dub, Gabe. Get that dub, man. No, it's an investment, and not just of your time and energy, but of your emotions, right? As a coach, like, you just want the best for those kids. Like, it's not about you, it's about their success, their overall development as young people. And as we started this off talking about Dawn Staley just pouring into those kids, and that's what, the tactical part and the strategy side is always going to be fun for me. But it's the emotional side, like the lock in with those kids every day. So I know you've been a great coach this year, and going through the journey with you as a first year coach, it's just, I don't know, it's been fun. So I got
a good mentor over here. I gotta say, a really good mentor.
Oh man, I'll tell you, it's bigger than basketball. I'll always be like that for me. I don't care if I'm coaching or not. Like, that'll always be a main thing for me. So just to see you in that space is really awesome. I'm proud of you. I'm gonna tell you that. And have fun. Squeeze out all the moments. Squeeze out all those moments and win all the little moments, even the pickup stuff. I mean, that's fun. So, it's like you're like, wait, what? But that'll be something you remember. So that's, for you, that's a great moment too. So, but it's fun stuff. But this is always great to chop it up with you, Gabe. I know. One last thing about some WNBA-ish news. Candace Parker, shout out to you, mommy. Mom of two, getting the job done with TNT and all these other things. But she'll be the first woman to be the analyst on an NBA All-Star game. So, Candace, you better go. Okay, when I see you, I owe you a bigger hug. I randomly see her, but, when she comes here to DC. But I'm going to grab her up because that's an amazing feat, something that's never been done. But as she said it before, I'm the first but not the last. She was on the cover of the 2K thing. Like, that's the first, but I'm not the last. So she's being the first in a lot of things. And I love it. So go, Candace.
Oh, no, it's awesome to hear. And, Candace is just going to – she's a star in everything, right? Some people, right? Some people are just – some people, like the woman next to me, just good at a lot of things. Just good at everything they do. So I'm happy for Candace. I'm excited to watch the All-Star game.
Yeah.
I do need the Heat to get their stuff together, but that is an entire other hour and a half long podcast.
He's on the struggle bus right now. They'll get it, though. They'll get it. But hey, we appreciate you guys for joining us again today, right here on the Her Hoop Stats Podcast Network for Courtside with Christy and Gabe. Again, sending all of our well wishes and prayers to the Michigan State University community. But we appreciate you guys taking some time out to join us to talk about basketball and things bigger than basketball. But you'll always be special for us for investing your time and checking us out. So we will see you on the next podcast, which we're hoping is next week sometime, and we iron out our schedules. We don't know which day yet, but we will be back.
You'll hear from us
right here on the Her Hoop Stats Podcast Network for Courtside with Christy and Gabe. For Gabe Ibrahim, I'm Christy Winter Scott, and we will see you next time. Good luck, Gabe.
Yeah.